Time for a twins pod.
Then I'm getting sucked off.
Yeah.
What exactly is a mRNA vaccine? It's
So
something
it's
new,
modified.
Right?
So
Okay.
mRNA is a natural substance in our body, but this is
Okay.
a modification of that, and it
Okay.
contains a synthetic. So you have these base pairs that from
Yeah, dumb it down for us. Yeah, 'cause I see you trying, so let me dumb it down for us.
Well, okay. Well, they substitute.
I want my head to explode.
They substitute one part of the mRNA with a synthetic analog, a synthetic nucleoside called pseudouridine. So uridine is what's supposed to be there. It's pseudouridine, and it's difficult to break down.
Okay.
So
Totally got it.
so normally, and then they put this shell around it called lipid nanoparticle. So normally, if you just injected mRNA, the body would destroy it. But the shell protects it. But the shell also allows it to escape. It was supposed to just stay in the arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the shell allows it to travel throughout the body, get into the brain, get into the ovaries.
We got a turtle in us.
right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
So, like you were saying, you said it was around 17 million deaths. Have we seen a spike in like other diseases, like terminal illnesses, like cancer, or?
So in cancer, so the NIH is sort of they keep all the cancer data.
Dr. Fauci?
Yeah. So, but we don't have any fresh data since 2022.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that odd?
That's crazy. That's very suspicious.
Yeah, but when you look at the finance, so there are other things you can look at, like financials. So what's being spent on cancer drugs,
Right?
And that sort of thing, and those have gone up, tremendously in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I've heard the term turbo cancers.
Right.
Is there any?
Well, yeah, they're in
What is that?
just rapid onset of high grade advanced cancer.
Okay.
And they are seeing it in younger people. So there's one set of data shows a 30% increase in cancer in age 18 to 54. So, but the NIH is...
That's a pretty strong correlation.
Yeah. It's concerning. And I have a friend that works at MD Anderson. She said she's never seen anything like it. Young people coming in with aggressive cancer.
Like this vaccine that... Typically, to create a vaccine, how long does it take?
Yeah, with any drug that gets put on the market, it's typically at least a 5, if not 10-year process.
5 to 10 years.
Right.
So Trump did it in 6 months. That's crazy.
I know, which is why I didn't get the shot, or why I was reluctant to.
I was meaning to ask you that. Yeah.
I was reluctant. But I didn't think it was going to hurt people. I just didn't think it was going to work.
Trump brought Johnson & Johnson on stage during one of his rallies. You could hear a pin drop in that bitch. That's what you call tone deaf. I go, what the hell are you doing? The crowd was just like, man, what you doing? You got Johnson & Johnson on stage. That was the worst one. And
He shouted out the Pfizer guy, too.
Then Trump would start talking how it was because of warp speed and he came up with the idea. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. Oh, my. It's so I hard to don't
Mm-hmm.
get that. I don't get that. Do you think he have any responsibility in what happened?
Trump?
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no. I mean, I think he could definitely peg some other people and save his ego.
Right.
He's not a doctor.
Right.
He relied on some
Shit, they came
people
out in
that-
6 months. I think Trump made this shit in his kitchen. I remember with him
6
months.
Mar-a-Lago.
He made that shit in Mar-a-Lago. Like, I remember he was talking, it was the three of them. It was Dr. Birx, I think her name was, and it was Fauci. And then Trump was up there having these press conferences. He said, yeah, we got to look at the squirting this shit in your veins. What was it like, I forgot what he was saying. It was like some...
UV light or something.
It was some UV light. You remember that?
Okay, yeah. So they keep, and this was, actually that same reporter that I was talking about from Vanity Fair, Catherine Ebon, a few months ago claimed that Trump was telling people to inject Clorox in their veins.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He never did that.
He never did that, but he was like rambling.
It might have
and
been
people was like, is
crossing
he
his-
telling people to shoot this shit in my face?
It might have crossed his mind, but he did not actually say it.
Right. Yeah, that was, yeah.
Clorox. It's like
Yeah. Do you think the truth is gonna ever truth? Always put an F on it. Sorry, my Negro brain. Do you think the truth is ever gonna come out?
It's come out. I think it's out there. It's just
Yeah.
people. We don't have people in authority willing to acknowledge it. That's
Right.
the problem. But you
'Cause-
look at the vast majority of people are not following CDC recommendations, right? They're
Right.
not buying it.
Right.
But we just don't have anybody with big microphones, like, you know.
RFK Jr. He just pulled it from the child schedule, right?
I mean, it's still being given to children. So they said we won't give it to healthy children, whatever that means.
Why would you give it to children?
You do not need to give it to any
Right.
child. You don't need to give it to any human being, but certainly not a child.
Yeah.
Like no kids died from like babies. Did any babies die from
Well,
COVID?
they may have tagged it as, they may have labeled it as such, but I have a very hard time believing, unless they were mismanaged. I mean, you could, you could help any patient overcome COVID with, maybe not everybody, but the vast majority of people
Right.
with proper treatment instead of, most doctors, shut their doors and said, just go to the emergency room if you can't breathe.
That's what
not
they
a-
told me because we was talking about the COVID before we got it, and then we got it. I was like, shit, I'm gonna die.
Right.
Because all the Republicans saying it's just a bad flu.
Right,
It's just a bad flu, and I was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right,
I said, man, calm down. It's just a flu.
Right.
So I got it. I said, yep, I'm about to die.
And I remember I did a teleconference with a doctor, and I said, "What can you give me?" He said, "I can't give you anything. Just stay quarantined in your house and just wait it through."
Yeah.
That's it.
Just wait till you die. Right.
And then I would call Kevin because he got it too. We both got it at the same time, and I would call Kevin just to make sure he was still breathing.
Yeah.
And then I called him. I said, "Man, I have this weird." Like side effect, my feet are blue.
Yeah,
and I
you
told
had the
him-
blue toes. Yeah.
I told him, I said, I think that's stage 4. That happens right before death.
What
Wow.
causes blue feet?
Lack of
Well,
lack of
yeah,
oxygen.
Yeah, like
If you like dark skin, you got pale feet, yeah, you're done.
But I have really pale feet, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a good sign actually. But I'm glad you got through it. What
Oh,
did they
was
give you anything? They didn't give you. Would you? I mean,
no.
He asked for ivermectin. He said, I can't
Yeah.
prescribe that.
he could. That's a lie.
Yeah.
He was allowed to prescribe it. He just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just stay in my room. I remember my kidneys, my low back was hurting a lot. And I got over it in like 2 weeks. I was like, that was not the fucking flu.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was worse than the flu.
Yeah.
People say it was just a flu, but it was worse.
I think that came, I don't think that came from Mother Nature. I think it,
No, I don't either.
Came
I
from
think
a
it was.
lab.
I think it was an attack, and I don't think it was
Yeah.
a leak.
Mm.
I think it was released.
Oh,
I
you
know.
don't think it was a
I think it's
mistake.
biowarfare.
Yeah. It was
And why
testing
is
a new
that
weapon.
so hard to fathom? I mean,
Right.
we have a whole, department in our government
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to fighting biowarfare. I don't understand why that's so
Yeah,
tricky
right.
to.
And the crazy thing about it, we were funding it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when Trump said this started in China, and then the China president said, "No, you guys started all of this shit in my country."
right.
I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like bullshit."
Right.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was all true.
Yeah.
It was us.
Yeah.
That is wild to think about.
Maybe working with the Chinese. Maybe, yeah. But I
Yeah.
think I don't think it was a leak.
Yeah, we
Right.
always say China is bad. They communist. But why do we got a lab there that we're funding
Right.
for a novel
Exactly.
virus?
Yeah.
Does-
It makes no sense.
No, makes absolutely no sense.
Do you think Dr. Fauci has any blood on his hands about how
Hey,
things
Joe,
were handled during COVID?
water? I'm gagging over here. I think's COVID coming back.
It is coming back, by the way. If you
Yeah, I
read the
heard about that.
I've
headlines,
seen that.
yes. It's,
How true is it though? I don't think they're
well,
going to try to say.
they cried wolf with bird flu. Remember, they tried to get everybody
Right.
riled up right before
Yeah.
the election about
Yeah.
bird flu.
Mhm.
So I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
But yeah, and Fauci, of course, deserves.
he should be in
He does
prison.
not deserve a pardon.
Yeah, he got a pardon, right?
Why would Dr. Fauci need a pardon?
Right. He wasn't charged with anything, right?
Right.
So why would what was the?
I don't even think his pardon is legit. It was a damn auto pen.
Yeah, that's true.
You gonna make it?
I think so.
Give some ivermectin.
You got some ivermectin?
Women, we have so much in our purse, and I'm like,
right.
oh, there's some ivermectin.
Forgot it was in there.
Yeah.
So you think 17 million people died from it, and it's a spike in cancer
Yeah.
across the globe?
It's
That
definitely,
vaccine.
yeah, it's concerning. And it's,
Yeah.
the thing that worries me too is I test people's antibody levels to spike protein.
Oh, after you get it?
And because I'll have patients coming in with issues, long-term chronic debilitating health problems following these shots. And we don't have a great test for them other than the spike protein antibody test. And when you look at people that did not get the shots, the level is typically under 1,000. When you get at people that have gotten these shots, they're 10 times that. And this is 4 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, it does not make sense because typically the antibody levels will just drop down over time, right? Especially 4 years later, you're not getting any more shots,
Right.
you're not getting sick. But the test goes up to 25,000, and I have a lot of patients that exceed the upper limit of the test.
25 times?
25,000. So that is concerning.
That's nuts.
Like I forgot to tell you, like my sister-in-law, she was working as she wasn't a nurse. She had this like job. It was through the county, but she was seeing her aunt who's has dementia and Alzheimer's, so she was getting paid through the county to help her own aunt, right? And when the COVID shots came out, they told her for you to continue working with your aunt, you have to get this shot. So she gets the shot, but then she developed some heart issues. And they said she
Myocarditis?
had inflammation of the heart. That's what they told her.
Yeah, no, that's very common. And the thing I really worry about with these kids is you don't know if you have myocarditis
Right.
if you don't have chest pain. So you could have silent myocarditis. If you have a baby that's not talking, you have no idea if they've had myocarditis, and it can leave a permanent scar on the heart. And then you are at a lifelong increased risk of sudden death after myocarditis. And so how many of these kids are potentially have gotten myocarditis after these shots?
Grow up, go to high school, participate in sporting events and stuff like that.
I've seen a lot of professional athletes. It was never noticeable to me, but you would see people on the soccer fields just dropping dead.
And those numbers are scary. Prior to these shots, they looked at how many per year, because it was happening prior to COVID and prior to the shots. And I can't remember the exact year, but it was like 29 in 1 year, and then it jumped up to 290 after these shots in a year.
That's just a correlation.
Right.
Yeah, correlation.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
The football player, what was his name?
Well, how about LeBron James' son?
got it.
His
His son.
18-year-old son.
And
It's not a big deal.
That's like heart related when people pass out like that. Oh yeah, I've seen enough of that.
yeah,
But it's horrible.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
LeBron,
that famous football player, he dropped and he almost died right there on the field. I'm sure you was aware of that case, but
in Buffalo?
yeah,
Is that
the
DeMar Hamlin? Or-
DeMar Hamlin. Yeah. So he had a press conference and he asked him about what was the cause of it. There was this long pause and he says, I don't want to discuss that.
Yeah. of
Like,
course.
Why wouldn't
Say
you want
something.
to discuss that?
Yeah. Well,
We
we don't want to promote vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just shocked at how many people in society are like cowards. They can't really stand up and speak truth.
yeah. Or speak
mean-
up against something that they don't believe in. general, yeah.
But the backlash was vicious.
Y'all like that last Ram we gave away? Yeah. So we got us another one. Check this Ram out. 2500 heavy duty turbo diesel Ram. R-A-M or Ram. It's got all kinds of Ram action. Yeah, I love this Ram. You can really ram something with this. What color is this? Graphite? That is white supremacist graphite right there. Got a good handle on it. See that handle? Built like a tank, but it drives like a race car. Go to officialhardswims.com. Anything you buy from the site get you automatically in a win. Yeah. No purchase necessary. Going where prohibited. See official rules for details. Yeah.